Obviously, the character that we're going to look at in the scene is Mr. M. So what details are we given of him? His full name, Anela Myalatya, 57, bachelor, teacher, and there's his address. Notice that he says a little wryly, it's not bitter, but it's a little sad that the room's a little on the small side. He explains that his life rattles around in these two matchboxes, his room that he rents and the classroom at the school. I said here that the bare details of his life show that he's dedicated himself to teaching. He seems to have no other goal than to nurture children. Teaching is his life. He doesn't have a wife and children. The children he teaches are his children. He doesn't have a home to go home to, really. It's a room, and he's got a chair that he's allowed to push in to the lounge and watch TV with the family. So his life is the school. And I've said at the end here, it explains why he makes the choices that he does. It's out of who he is and his background. And very important, he explains that he's a follower of the philosophies of Confucius. And he has a motto up in his classroom. Just have a look at that. And what does it mean? If you digest something, like your food, it really goes inside you. Labor is work, perilous is dangerous. So you've got to have knowledge and think about what you've learnt. Otherwise, you've wasted your time. But if you think and you don't have knowledge, that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. He also explains to us about his emotions. He says they're like wild animals. He talks about a zoo of emotions. He says hope has broken free of his control. But it's not a gentle emotion. It's as dangerous as hate and despair. And he asks the audience, you think I'm exaggerating, pushing my metaphor a little too far? Then I'd like to put you inside a black skin and ask you to keep hope alive. Find food for it on these streets where our children, our loved and precious children, go hungry and die of malnutrition. No, believe me, it's a dangerous animal for a black man to have prowling around in his heart. So how do I manage to keep mine alive, you ask? Friends, I'm going to let you in on a terrible secret. That's why I'm a teacher. Now, we looked at the proscenium arch stage. That's when the audience is sitting out here and the stage is over there, and you watch the actors on that stage. We talk about this wall here as being the fourth wall. So when the audience is sitting there watching, there's an imaginary fourth wall in front of them. Notice that in the monologues, that fourth wall is broken. He's talking to the audience as the audience. You, friends, you, talking directly to you. He breaks that fourth wall and sees the audience as an audience, but he maintains himself in character. And he goes on, he says, it's all part of a secret plan to keep alive this savage hope of mine. I feed young people to my hope. Every young body behind a school desk keeps it alive. I think we get a sense of how desperate Mr. M is. He's agonized by the sight of the poverty, the hunger, malnutrition, children dying of malnutrition. And he says he's got to keep hope alive, that these young people are going to be the future. They are going to be the force for change that he so longs for, to change all of these terrible things which equal wasted, black lives that he can't bear to think about anymore. He says, the people tease me. Faster, Mr. M. They shout to me from their front doors. You'll be late. They think it's a funny joke. They don't know how close they are to a terrible truth. Yes. The clocks are ticking, my friends. History has got a strict timetable. If we're not careful, we might be remembered as the country where everybody arrived too late. A terrible, terrible passage. So they see him rushing, so we always associate him with rushing. He's always moving, he's full of energy, he moves quickly. And they laugh at him, and he says, the clocks are ticking. History has a strict timetable. Be careful. The situation is volatile. It can explode at any moment. That violence and desperation can consume, can eat up the people of this country with a huge destructive fire.